What I'd like to do is have each of our panelists just share with you for just a couple of minutes about their organization and what they do. And then I've got a series of questions that I'd like to ask. And then, of course, we want to make sure we ultimately get to your questions too.
So, usually like when you're trying to build an engineering or a core technology product, it's a lot of jargon. And I don't want to confuse you guys with all that jargon. So how many of you actually wear Fitbits or wearables? Right? All right. So how many of you have like home automation devices like a connected washing machine? Okay, fewer, right? Then how many of you have smart cities that actually talk back to you and tell you, when your bus is coming or when you have to go, what's the safest place in the city to be at what time? Probably very few, right? So this is what's going to happen in the future, right? The consumer wearables is a personal area network. That's the fastest to adopt. It's within 3 feet of you. You put a wearable on yourself and it creates a network around you, right? So after that is the home automation network, right? That extends your personal network to your home. Then you have the factory automation network that extends your home to the factory. Then you have the smart city network that extends everything to a metropolis, right? And very soon, what's going to happen is all these networks are going to converge, and it's going to create a singularity. And when I say singularity, it's basically a cluster, you know what? And what Zaptum does is, we are basically solving that problem before it happens. And by being first to market, right, we are able to have a lead time to become a market leader in the space and have that one shot to go to moon and be a Chicago success. So that's basically what we do in very simple terms.
Terrific. Terrific. Thank you, Brad. Thank you. Corbett?
So first of all, I'd like to thank the Chicago Innovation Awards because it really helped our company out a lot. So thank you, Dan and Tom, for all your support. I'm glad that we can be a success story, not only for the city, but also for the Chicago Innovation Awards. So if you haven't applied to get in, you should definitely do so because it definitely helps out. So I'm now with Climate Corporation. I run the Chicago office. We have an engineering team in Chicago that's very focused on IoT solutions for agriculture. So how many people in the room know much of anything about farming or agriculture? Okay, it's actually more than what I would have expected. So, so farmers are very dependent upon their equipment, they're very dependent upon the weather, they're very dependent upon the performance of seeds and fertilizer, etc. The devices that we're working on are to help improve the productivity of farmers. The device that we developed, the Drive, plugs into tractors and combines, and you can pair up to it from an iPad, visualize data real time in the cab of a tractor. That data is also sent up to the cloud real time. By analyzing that information, we provide advice back to the growers of ways that they can improve their overall productivity. So this could be everything from the type of seed to plant, when to plant, the amount of fertilizer to apply, and then at the end of the season, helping them judge whether or not those decisions were good decisions or bad decisions. So really enabling them to make data-based decisions, whereas in the past, a lot of times the decisions were made for historical reasons. This is what my grandpa did, or this is what my father did. So it's really trying to allow farmers to use digital tools, create the smart farm of the future so that farmers can be more productive.
Fantastic. Thanks for it. Peggy.
Well, thank you for inviting me to be here today. I really love talking about the Internet of Things. I especially love when someone talks about it truly coming from the space of M to M, because it shows you I feel like I'm at home, because that's where we started at Connected World. The magazine was originally called M2M Magazine, and then in 2009 we renamed it to Connected World Magazine so people would kind of understand it, because truly manufacturers still call it machines, machine to machine, because that's where everything started in the SCADA world in HMI. And as it's evolving from healthcare to connected cities to connected homes, we're starting to understand it as the Internet of Things. And at Connected World magazine and the Peggy Smedley show, we hear a lot of companies saying, I'm starting to finally understand what this Internet of Things is all about. Wearables that we have, because as consumers, we're starting to embrace it. But the real growth of it is going to be in the industrial side, in the business side of things. So what we're going to talk about today, and what we do at Connected World magazine and the Peggy Smedley show, is really talk about the adoption and help educate companies who have questions about all these things as we consult and we write about all these stories, and that's what our love is. And so I'm looking forward to answering any of the questions you have that we might do. And I'm also a part of the ITA's IoT Council with Brenna, that we're a part of that. And Brenna's going to say, so you took my thunder, but she really started it, so I've only followed her lead because she invited me into it. So I'm going to let her tell you all about it. So thank you again.
Thanks, Peggy. Great.
So again, thank you so much for being here. Nights like this are so exciting. So I really get to work with IoT in two capacities in my job. So the first, Peggy kicked off, which is exciting and not the usual role for a CIO. So as the mayor was approaching his second election, he actually had a really fast conversation, given what else was going on, about where should we as a city and as an administration focus on technology to help grow jobs here in Chicago and the Midwest. One area he's focusing on is ed tech, which makes a lot of sense given his passion for education. The other area, which I had explained to him what it was IoT. And the thesis was very easy, right? IoT is going to revolutionize every industry that actually makes up our economy here in Chicago and more broadly the Midwest, right? Manufacturing, automotive, logistics, insurance, healthcare. And it made perfect sense given our investment in those industries here, and frankly the innovation we've always driven in those industries, for us to own the IoT space in North America, if you're the mayor, the world and beyond. So how do you do that? You actually, what we decided to do almost a year ago on St. Patrick's Day last year was we founded the Midwest IoT Council, which is focused on bringing together industry leaders, large and small, to talk about how we collaborate in the Midwest to bring focus on IoT here. And we can talk about that more. We're lucky to have Peggy as a part of it, and we're really just focused on education and getting the word out around IoT so that people realize the place to be for IoT is here in the Midwest. And I'm just very excited to be a part of that because I really think that's going to drive growth here. The second thing I get to do is frankly use IoT technologies to make Chicago a responsive city. We actually actively don't use the term smart city because it's been so co-opted by companies that use that to drive marketing. It doesn't really mean much. And we are doing that in a couple of ways, a couple of key projects. Some you might have heard of, which one big one is the Array of Things, which when you talk about a Fitbit, the Array of Things is really a Fitbit for the city of Chicago. It's a research project in partnership with Argonne Labs and the University of Chicago to deploy 500 multi-sensor nodes across the city over the next 18 months to collect micro-level data about the city, none personally identifiable, to really give us a level of information about the city that we have never had before. And then more specific to sort of improving our operations and driving out some information about problems, we're using sensors and the connected backbone behind them to try and get at flooding on the west side, to drive out LiDAR-driven mapping systems around, frankly, all the crap we have under our streets, which drives up the cost of construction in the city of Chicago. So we're really trying to use IoT to improve the service delivery of the city of Chicago. And just a little shout out, it's not just me and what I run in the city. There's a CIO over every major unit of government, one of whom is here for City Colleges tonight, who's using these technologies to figure out how to make higher education more efficient and responsive for the residents of the city as well. So it's a citywide initiative across everything that we do.
Dynamite. Terrific.